Hello, AZ Up. Hey. I know. I look like the lady from your homeowners association. You know, the one who wants you to keep the noise down. So we're here to talk today about refilling when you're running on empty. And that is something that I have some expertise in. I am in recovery from 30 years of clinical depression. And I've learned a lot along the way on how to practice passionate self-care, which I want to share with you. The hardest part of me putting together this presentation is taking the stuff out because there's just not enough time to tell you everything that I want to tell you. But I'm going to give it a shot. So here's the things I'm not going to talk about, okay? I'm not going to give you the advice that everybody else gives you. For example, I'm not going to tell you to exercise more, okay? Because I have a very complicated relationship with exercise. Yes. Yeah. I have a very complicated relationship with exercise. It sounds like you do too. I have to exercise in the morning before my brain figures out what I'm up to. Last week I was jogging and I was on my 3rd mile and my brain woke up and said, wait, what? What exactly did we get out of bed? I'm just kidding, I don't jog. I'm with Irma Bombeck, who once said, the only reason to take up jogging is so I can hear heavy breathing again. And I'm not going to tell you to don't sweat the small stuff, okay? Because honestly, I know that all of you have been through some big stuff in your life. You may have lost a spouse, either a good news or bad news on that one. You may have gone through cancer. Heck, if you survived being a teenager, you're already a warrior, in my opinion. I myself adopted 2 teenagers who were 12 and 15 from foster care. They were hormones with feet. So I'm not going to tell you to not sweat the small stuff because honestly, we handle the big stuff really great, but we get a hangnail and somebody needs to talk us off a ledge. Is that true? So the other thing is I'm not going to tell you all the stats about how bad stress is for you. You already know all that. You can feel it in your body. But what I am going to share with you are the tools that lifted me out of 30 years of clinical depression and how you can adjust them to your own life so that you can decrease your stress and increase your happiness. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? Yeah. Okay. So let me see where I am here. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is, stress. I'm not going to give you data. I'm not going to give you statistics. But stress feels a little bit like this, doesn't it? People are getting on your last nerve. You ever have that? People just getting on your last nerve. Or you're so tired you just want to cry. You just want to cry. Or even though you know that you don't identify as being a victim, inside your head is a constant country western song that goes like this. Make the world go away and get it off of my shoulders. Does that sound familiar? So one of the things is that we all have inside of us an inner martyr that we like to indulge from time to time. So I want you all to, with me right now, indulge your inner martyr. Everybody do this. Oh, Silver, if you had my life, you wouldn't be so darn chirpy. Well, I have some really great news for you. There is a way for you to decrease your stress and increase your happiness. And I'm going to help you give you the tools today to do that. So what if, just by managing your thoughts and managing your focus, you could, with the exact same circumstances that you have right this minute, you could lower your stress and increase your happiness? I'm going to repeat that. What if, just by managing your thoughts and your focus, you could, with the exact same circumstances that you have right now, decrease your stress and increase your happiness? That'd be pretty cool. Well, I'm telling you, I did that. And I'm here to share with you some of the tools that helped me get through that. So there is an instinct that we have, and we've all been taught to suppress it. The instinct is get happy and stay there. Aren't you just a little suspicious of happy people? I mean, really, some people get so happy we lock them up. We say, you know what? He must not know what's going along, must be delusional, because otherwise he wouldn't be so darn happy. But honestly, what I'm here to share with you today is that you get more of what you focus on. And this is the foundation of everything that took me from being 30 years of clinical depression, since I was like 4 or 5 years old, up until my mid-30s. When I learned that you get more of what you focus on, my entire life shifted. And another way to say it is you get more of what you pay attention to. So when you're paying attention to something, it's like you're asking the universe, more of this, please. So how many of you, when you first wake up in the morning, your first thought goes like this? Ah! I got bad news for you. You just placed an order with the universe for what kind of day you're going to have. Really, it's amazing what we do. We always plan to have a bad day. So the thing that I learned most is that if you want to change your life, you've got to change your focus. So I don't know how many of you remember this, but years ago, there used to be a weight loss program. And the way that they promoted it was people would wear these big buttons that said, I lost 50 pounds, ask me how. So my imaginary button right now says, I recovered from 30 years of clinical depression, ask me how. I'm glad you asked. So it all started when I was 4 years old. Wasn't I cute? I was bossy even back then. I didn't know it started when I was 4 years old, but what happened was when I was in my early 30s, I was drinking too much, I was partying too much, I was drinking at lunch, at work, I was doing all these things that were very self-destructive, and I had had yet another bad relationship with the guy. And so I got a referral for a therapist, and I went to this therapist, and he asked me what he would ask me today if I called him. Why now? I'm sure you've had times in your life where you needed help. Why did you pick this moment in time to reach out? And I said, well, I've just had another bad relationship with a man, and it's just now occurred to me that I might have something to do with that. You're probably thinking, no wonder you were depressed. You're not the brightest bulb. So we went into therapy, and we talked about different things. And about 3 to 4 months into therapy, he says to me, well, you're clinically depressed. And I said, Doc, are you nuts? By the way, they really don't like that term. I said, what makes you think that I'm depressed? He said, well, you come in here week after week telling me all these sad stories. Don't you feel depressed? I said, Doc, I'm from New England. How would I know? He said, well, you were definitely clinically depressed. Well, being a hardy New Englander, first of all, nobody I ever knew went to therapy, so I was hiding it from my parents and everybody. But because my father's idea on what therapy is that you pay someone to be your best friend. So I wasn't about to tell him I was paying somebody to be my best friend. But I decided, because I'm a hardy New Englander, that I wanted to figure out how to go from depressed to undepressed. I didn't even have a goal of being happy. I didn't know that was possible, okay? Because I have felt this way my entire life. I said that to my doctor. I said, I have felt this way my entire life. He said, well, you've had it since you were about 5 years old. Well, when I was 5 years old, I was abused by my best friend's father. And that's when it started. And what was explained to me is that when I kept that a secret, that my childhood was canceled. When you keep an adult secret, your childhood is canceled. But back to the getting better, I wanted to go from depressed to undepressed. So I started reading, all these books like The Power of Positive Thinking and Think and Grow Rich and all these incredible books. I love George Carlin's take on self-help. He said, I went to the library and I asked the lady behind the counter, where's your self-help section? And she said, well, if I told you that, it would defeat the purpose. So I did these workshops, you know, I walked barefoot across hot coals with Tony Robbins, you know, that big tall guy on TV. I say I walked across with Tony. I've never actually seen him do it. He was on the sideline saying, go Silver, go Silver, go. I did the S training. I did everything you can imagine. I did 12 steps, everything I could to try and get better. And as it turned out, things started to get better. Here's when I had a major epiphany. One night, I remember I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and it was wintertime, and I had just turned off my television, and I was getting ready to go to sleep, and I decided that I would do some pre-complaining. Any of you familiar with pre-complaining? Basically, I wanted to complain about the next day in case I didn't have time in the morning. So I was lying there and I was thinking, I have to go to work in the morning and those people are going to be there. And it's that time of year, it's dark when I get up. I hate that. And some of you did this last night. You looked at the clock and you said, it's already too late to get a good night's sleep. And that's when I started to laugh. I thought to myself, Silver, because that's my name, you are lying here in a queen-size feather bed. You've just turned off 24/7 entertainment with your remote control. I mean, heaven forbid I should actually have to get up. You have food in the refrigerator. You have gasoline in the car that's sitting in the driveway. You have indoor plumbing. In any third world country, Missy, you would be the empress, which I really like the idea of. And so that's when I had my epiphany. Now, I don't know if you've ever had an epiphany, but you go a little bit crazy at first. So the next morning, I get up before the alarm went off, and I threw the covers back. I went, yay, it's morning. I love mornings. Thank you for mornings. And I run into the bathroom. I get in the shower, and I said, thank you for showers. This is the best shower I've ever had in my life. And I get out, thank you for fluffy towels. I love this fluffy towel. I stumble over to the mirror, and I look in the mirror, and I said, thank you for makeup. Hey, I may have been enlightened, but I'm still vain, okay? So I just, you know, I got dressed, thank you for clothes, I had, thank God for coffee, everything. I get into the car, and I put the key in the ignition, and I don't know about you, but at one point in my life, this was an iffy proposition. I turned the key, and it turned over. Yay, thank you so much. So I'm driving to work, and I'm really excited. I'm waving to people on the freeway. Some guy cut me off, and I went, oh, good for you. I parked the car at work. I burst through the door in my newfound enthusiasm, and I said, good morning. And they said, You've worked with these people, right? Have you ever noticed you never, ever have to explain a bad mood when you come to work? But if you're in a good mood, they're highly suspicious. They want to know, did you win the lottery and you're quitting? Or, I want whatever drug you're on. And my personal favorite, did you get lucky last night? But here's the thing. I had this epiphany, and I started to get grateful for everything I have. And it completely lifted, not right away, but it lifted my depression. The more I noticed and was grateful for what I have, the more wonderful things started to happen for me. Because there's a thing called you get more of what you focus on. And as I focused on all the great things that I had, more things that were matched to that started to come into my life. And it was amazing. I mean, I got so happy that my parents used to say to me, who are you and what have you done with our real daughter? Because things were good. So what we're going to talk about today are all the tools and techniques that I used. So there's 3 things that we're going to talk about in my Passionate Self-Care formula. The first one is feed your mind only what you want more of, and we'll talk about that. The second is harness the power of physiology, and the third one is service to others. So let's get right into it. First of all, feed your mind only what you want more of. In our society, we spend so much time worrying about what we put into our mouths, don't we? We spend no time worrying about what we put into our brains. If I wanted to make $1 million in a month, all I would have to do is write a book called How to Lose 5 Pounds in 5 Minutes. It would fly off the shelves. But we pay this much attention to what we feed our brains. And it's really important because when I was depressed, and I know some of you can relate to this, I was always in touch with my inner martyr. I was always looking at what wasn't working in my life, and I kept attracting more of what wasn't working. So they've done, you know, Martin Seligman was at one point head of the American Psychological Association, and he wrote a book called Learned Optimism. And he said one of the greatest discoveries we've had over these many decades is that you can change your habits of thinking. Gosh, do I wish my father knew about that before he died. My father was a World War II veteran, and he didn't think the glass was half full or half empty. He wanted to know what was in it and who put it there. I once gave him a bumper sticker that said, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't out to get you. So it's really important to know that what you feed your mind is really, really critical. Now, if you were babysitting for a pair of girls about this age, and they needed to go to sleep, would you say, okay, I have a really great idea for how to get them to go to sleep. I'm going to read to them the next Stephen King novel. You wouldn't do that, would you? First of all, it'd be child abuse as far as I'm concerned. But they would be flipped out. So let me ask you the following question. Raise your hand and be brave if you do this. How many of you, the last thing you do before you go to bed at night is you watch the news? Yep, some of you. So here's the thing. You drag yourself into work the next day and you say, I don't understand what's going on. I got 8 hours sleep last night and I'm exhausted. Well, let me tell you what the problem is. While you were sleeping, you were in the war in Afghanistan, you were in a bus crash in Detroit, and you were being stalked by a serial killer. Sweet dreams. So what you feed your mind is really important. And I learned that as I was recovering from my depression is that I spent a lot of time focused on things that horrified me. And now I really, by the way, I have friends of mine who call me, and some of you will think of this in the future. You'll go see a movie, right, that's just horrifying. And you'll think, I need to call Silver and tell her not to go see this movie. Because my friends know that I believe, and I know this to be true, that once it's in there, you can't get it out. So you go see a movie like Saving Private Ryan, and it's in there for the rest of your life. And so you've got to be really selective about what it is that you feed your mind on a regular basis. And here's how I came to know this. One day when I was, I was doing really good. Well, I was content most of the time. Things were good. And one day I was in a really foul mood. Now, you know that a foul mood is different than a bad mood. And I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. And I realized that one of the things that I do in order to get myself to exercise is I listen to books on tape, and I'm only allowed to listen to them if I get on the exercise bike, because otherwise I won't do it. So I'm listening to a book by, oh gosh, his name's going to escape me now. But it was this guy that was really like a horror writer, James Patterson. I was listening to a book by James Patterson, and he's a really good writer. And I thought it was happening to me. If you go to a movie and you're really involved in the movie, you think it's happening to you because your brain doesn't know the difference between pretend and reality. So it's really important what it is that you feed your brain. And it's an important note that your brain doesn't know the difference between pretend and reality, because if you, for example, if you pretend to be in a good mood, you know how they say fake it till you make it? That works. That works. Your brain just doesn't know the difference. So it's important that you feed your mind the stuff that you really want more of. And understand that if you go to a movie that's really realistic, that's why I love Jackie Chan movies, because I know nobody's getting hurt. They're chopping each other. Nobody's getting hurt. But I won't go see a mafia movie, because I know that happened at one point. I mean, I'm married to a Sicilian, so. So focusing on what you like about your life and what you like about others is a powerful way to keep your prefrontal cortex healthy. Dr. Daniel Amen was recommended to me by my daughter's ADD therapist, and it's a great book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, about the impact of your thoughts, etc., on your life. Surround yourself with beauty. This is one of the greatest ways to keep yourself, just centered and calm. And we have here, for those of you who live in Arizona or even in any part of the country, there's always something beautiful to look at. I live in Cave Creek, and every time I go up that hill, I've only lived there for a year, and every time I go up the hill to Cave Creek, I am stunned by the beauty. Stunned. But how many of you have just, when you're commuting now, it's all become invisible to you? You don't even notice it anymore. Or how many of you have put things in your office? When you first got your office, you decided to decorate it in the way that you really wanted, and you put these pictures up and all that, and now they've all become invisible to you. So one of the things in your office that I recommend you do if you want to shake things up a little bit is rearrange what you've put there, because you'll start seeing it again. But surround yourself with beauty. And by the way, we are so lucky in our society with the internet that we can surround ourselves with beauty. It's like anything else. You can surround yourself with a lot of nonsense, or you can go on there. You know that you can go to Tahiti. You can go to France. I just was showing some people at my table. There's a picture that I had on Facebook that somebody else took, which was an aerial view of all of the tulip fields in the Netherlands. It was astounding. So surround yourself with beauty. Now, here's what you need to know. Life is a series of stories you made up. Everything you believe about yourself is just a story you made up. Until I was 28 years old, I thought I was stupid. I thought I was stupid. And part of my recovery from this depression was that I took some transformational courses, and I realized that it was just a story that I'd made up based on some incidents in my childhood. By the way, if you're 19 or 20 and you're still blaming your parents for your problems, you have a case, okay? But I realized when I was 36, I had been in charge longer than my parents, so anything that was happening then was all on me. I was carrying the torch. So if you're going to make up a story called your life, why not make up a great one? Here's one of the things I want you to do on a regular basis is say, I have this amazingly great life. How many of you right now are living a life that you never dreamed was possible when you were a teenager? Remember when all you wanted was to get your own car? Your own place to live? Get your parents off your back? Well, you're there. But here's the thing. We are always looking at what we don't have, and we forget that everything that we do have was a dream of ours at one point. And we forget that we asked for it. So really important. If you're going to make up some stories about your life, I made up a story called I'm Stupid. Now my new story is I'm Brilliant. It's my story. I can make up any way I want. So the second thing in passionate self-care is to harness your physiology, okay? Harness your physiology. It's really important that you understand that the mind-body connection is pretty profound, okay? And so one of the things I can tell you that there's a certain way to be depressed that requires a lot of action. So I'm going to have you put your body into a depressed state, and I promise I'll pull you right out of it. So everybody right now, put your hands on your lap, round your shoulders, okay? Look down and sigh. Some of you are experts. Wow! If you know to put noise on top of the sigh, then you are an expert at this. But here's what you need to know. When you sit like that, you are telling your brain that you're depressed. And your reptilian brain sends chemicals into your body to match that. So one of the things you want to do if you're in a bad mood or you're kind of down or whatever, and think of Eeyore on Winnie the Pooh. Remember Eeyore? Oh, life would be great if it weren't so horrible. It's a little bit like how we are sometimes. So pull your stomach in, sit up straight, look around you, and then grin from ear to ear. Say, no, Silver, I'm in a bad mood. This doesn't make any difference at all because I'm in a really, really bad mood. You can't make me be in a good mood. Your physiology tells your brain what chemicals to send into your body. So one of the things when you're driving is to loosen your grip on the steering wheel, okay? Just loosen your grip. By the way, any of you ever come into work and talk about how great the commute was? No, you don't. It's amazing to me. I told you I'm married to a guy who's Sicilian, and the only thing we ever fight about is driving. And you know, Dave Barry once said, the one thing adults have in common is that we all think we're above average drivers, okay? So I'm like, you know, I'm Miss Calm, do all this. I'm like, you leave room in front of you. I don't like tailgating. You leave room in front of you so people, if they need to get in, they can get in there. My husband's like, no, no. If I leave room in front of me, that guy over there is going to cut in. And I'm like, so what? He said, no, no, then I lose. Then I lose. Now, at the end of a drive, who do you think's relaxed and who do you think is tense? Because I eventually close my eyes. I can't watch it anymore. I can't watch it anymore. But honestly, it's, the power of physiology is really profound. So how you hold yourself, how you breathe, we've forgotten how to breathe. The only good thing about cigarette smoking is it makes you breathe deeply. It's one of the reasons it's so relaxing, okay? So if any of you used to smoke, just pretend and start taking some deep breaths. So right now, what I want you to do is I want you to take a deep breath, hold it for a count of 3, and then let it go. 1, 2, 3, go. One more time. 1, 2, 3, go. Doesn't that feel good? Part of it is that you are telling your brain you have time to breathe. How many of you feel like you don't even have time to breathe? And I'm here to tell you, you know, we laugh about the commute, but your commute can be, I read an article the other day, I was just amazed by this. This woman said she has turned her commute into a self-care spa. And so she listens to music she really loves, or she'll listen to a book on tape that she really loves. She's turned the entire commute into a self-care thing. How many of you think that's a really great idea? Yeah, good. Because it's, I mean, you know, it's something you can't avoid. You got to commute, so why not have a good time while you're doing it? So just as your body reacts to your brain reacts to your body. So one of the things about stress that I am going to tell you is that what happens when you get stressed out is really bad chemicals go into your body. I mean, really bad. These are not things that you would voluntarily shoot up. But yet, somehow we hold it as a badge of honor how stressed out we are. You know, we don't, I know that some of you, because I've been through this, I'm sometimes hold back telling my friends how great my life is because I feel bad, you know, that theirs might not be as good as mine. But I've never held back telling them how horrible my life is. So we play this game in our society called bottom this. Oh, you think you're busy? Well, my boss yesterday just told me I have to have 3 reports done by Friday, and it's Thursday afternoon right now. We play this game where it's a contest for who's the most stressed out. Do you know that Americans work 2.5 weeks longer than the Japanese? And the Japanese are workaholics. The Japanese have coined a word in their language now, and the meaning of the word is death by work. They can sue companies for wrongful death because they worked them to death. And we work longer than they do. So we've got to figure out a way to have a safety valve, and your physiology can really make a difference in this. Now, you want to schedule leisure time and commit to it. If you put on your calendar 30 minutes, I don't know, take a bath, get in a hammock, get on your couch, whatever it happens to be, and somebody calls you and asks you to do something during that 30 minutes, if you say to them, I'm so sorry, I have a prior commitment, are you lying? No. You've got to honor the commitments to yourself the way you you honor the commitments to other people. How many of you know that you honor other people's time more than you honor your own? It's this thing that we do. It's just amazing to me. So schedule leisure time and commit to it. I saw something, I love social media. I love electronic stuff, all of that. And I saw on social media the other day, it said, spend 15 minutes every day in nature. If you don't have time, spend an hour. There is now this thing called forest baths, where people who are so stressed out actually pay to go to the forest and hang out in the forest for a day or two to just get nature. We've got Prescott, it's right there. It's right there. We've got the Grand Canyon, we've got all sorts of things. And now we can actually go into the desert because the temperature's gone down. So it's really important to schedule leisure time and commit to it. Consciously slow down and breathe. We just did the breathing exercise. I know that there was a workshop. How many of you went to the mindfulness workshop today? Was it great? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, mindfulness is so important. I got to tell you, part of the way to see whether you're actually being mindful or not is if you're forgetting things. You know, I've always had a bad memory, so I don't attribute it to age, but I do attribute it to when I'm not being mindful enough. How many of you go into your refrigerator, you have no idea what you went in there for? None. Well, the Buddhists will tell you that as you're heading toward the kitchen to go to the refrigerator, you say to yourself, glass of milk, glass of milk, glass of milk, glass of milk, so that when you get there, you know what you went there for. But our brains are just whizzing around all the time doing all this stuff. And here's the thing you need to know about your thoughts. The way that your inner guidance system gets your attention is not through your thoughts, because you have way too many of them whizzing through your head at any certain time. The way your inner guidance system gets to you is through your emotions. So if you're in a good mood, guess what? You're attracting things that you're going to like. It's your inner guide saying, if you stay focused where you're focused, you are going to really like the results. And if you're in a bad mood, it's your inner guide, your gut instinct, whatever you want to call it, saying, if you stay focused where you're focused, you are not going to like the results. So physiology is really important. And, you know, I used to have an aunt who used to say, don't slouch, you're tall, be proud. But, you know, part of that slouching was my depression, I realize now. Bask. Who are the kings and queens of basking? Cats. Cats will follow the sunspot around the house. Have you ever seen them do that? They will go and just bask. A lion, unless he's hungry, you walk by, he could care less. Could care less. But basking is really important, and we don't take time to bask. I want you just for a minute now to just be quiet and just think about the lunch you just had, or think about somebody you met that you really liked, or just listen to the quiet. How many of you went to your to-do list? This guy, thank you for admitting that, sir. Thank you. That's just what we do. So we need to learn to bask, because it really makes a difference. And the thing is that we put this stuff off. We think, oh, we're going to go to a spa, we're going to go to Prescott, or we're going to whatever. And we put it off when we can do it every single day. I'll tell you the place to bask. How many of you love the shower? Yes. Yay. Whoever invented the shower, if I could find that person, I would literally kiss his or her feet. Because that is, or some of you it's a bath. Some of you it's a bath. But that is a major opportunity. I get into the shower, and I'm not kidding you. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so great. How about your bed? Do you love your bed? Bask. When you get into your bed, it's like, oh, thank you for this. This is amazing. But no, we're beating up our pillow, you know, get the fist clenched, all of that. So really, basking is just a major opportunity to have a great time. Relax your jaw. I know this seems like a weird thing to put, but it has to do with physiology, and it changed my life. I went to a workshop, and this guy was what's called a somatic coach. It has to do with your body. And he was teaching us how to relax from the top of our heads to the bottom of our feet. And when he got to the jaw, he said something that I had never known. He said, there's never, ever any reason for your upper teeth to hit your lower teeth, ever. And I went, what? What about when you chew your food? Nope, there's food in between your teeth. There's never a reason for your upper teeth to hit your lower teeth ever. So if you just relax your jaw, your brain gets the message that you're relaxed, and it sends those chemicals into your system. But if you clench your jaw, it sends the ugly chemicals into your system. Now, I was teaching this in a program one day, and this woman came up to me afterwards. She said, you know, when you said that, I relaxed. She said, I walked in here with a migraine headache. And when you said that, I relaxed my jaw, and she said, my headache's gone. And I can tell you, the only time I ever get headaches, and I used to get them a lot, the only time is if there's like some pollen or something in the air, I'll get some sinus from time to time. But I never, ever clench my jaw. And I'm telling you, if you practice that, it will be amazing what will happen for you. Laughter is one of the most important things you can do physically. Laughter, I can't remember who said that. He said that laughter is the shortest distance between people. Laughter is the shortest distance between people. And you do not need a reason to laugh. There are, in India, this medical doctor started this thing called laughter clubs because he was treating cancer patients, and he found out that the more they laughed, the better their treatment went. So he started these laughter clubs. Well, a bunch of really smart people got together and said, look, I don't want to get cancer in order to do this. So let's just do it on our own. So every morning all across India, and I hear they do it at Walmart and different places here in the States, everybody gets together at the same time before they go to work. They go to a park, and they look at each other for 4 minutes. No, excuse me, for 10 minutes, and they laugh. So everybody stand up, and I want you to look at each other and laugh. Okay, sit down. Sit down. Doesn't that feel great? By the way, I was working with a client of mine on a leadership program, and one of the things I suggested is when the productivity got low, to have a laughter huddle and just get everybody in the team together and laugh for about 2 minutes. Because you don't need a reason to laugh. You can, remember the spa we talked about in your car? You can get in your car every morning and just laugh your way to work. Nobody will know that you're laughing to yourself. I do not suggest you do this when you're walking down the street, however. Don't be laughing to yourself when you walk down the street, because you could get locked up. But really, here's the other thing. Feel your abs. Don't your abs feel like they got to work out? You want six-pack abs? Just laugh every day. Laugh every day. So here's some of the data. First of all, just a few seconds of laughter reduces the production of cortisol, which is mental health enemy number 1. Cortisol is bad stuff. The other thing is relaxation is enhanced, and it produces brain waves similar to that of being in a true meditative state. Now, how many of you have your brain's too busy to meditate? You just can't do it. You've said, I'd like to, but I can't do it. You know what? You don't have to. Just laugh. Just spend 10, 15 minutes a day laughing, and you'll get the same benefits. Get the same benefits. Plus, when you're laughing, you're not really thinking of anything else like your problems. So 10 to 20 minutes of laughter, your muscles relax and stress melts away. And again, I'm just going to really say how lucky we are that in our society, we have the internet. There's all sorts of things on the internet to laugh about. Incredible. Just Google babies laughing. And it's catchy. Your heart rate slows, your blood pressure is reduced, and so if you have high blood pressure, laughter is really important. You have more energy, stamina, motivation, and productivity. Honestly, if you took a laugh break only once a day, you would find your productivity would rise. I promise you that. And it creates feelings of relaxation. You get more resilient, your creativity, all of that. If you're starting on a project where you really need a lot of creativity, I'd say start the meeting with laughter and see how creative people get. It's amazing. So find funny quotes. There's funny quotes everywhere. If you want politically correct quotes, just go to Reader's Digest. If you're offended by anything in Reader's Digest, then there's something wrong with you, okay? So here's some funny quotes that I love. First of all, stick with the optimists. It's going to be tough enough even if they're right. In hell, all the voicemail messages you ever left will be played back to you. And my personal favorite, Lily Tomlin said, I always wanted to be somebody. I see now I should have been more specific. At one time, I met this nurse who worked at an ER, and the emergency room's a pretty stressful place to work. And so she told me about a sign that they had in the break room where all the employees went, and it said, you can't cure stupid, but you can charge for it. So laughter is really, really important. And then finally, step 3 is service to others. And you have that built into the work that you do. Honestly, everybody does. Yours is just a little bit more obvious. But service to others is what work is all about. And I can tell you that service to others is really what really tipped me over from just being undepressed into being happy. Because when I'm serving others, I'm not thinking about myself. And I got to tell you something. I may not be much, but I'm all I can think about. So service to others helps with that. So I mentioned I adopted 2 girls from foster care. My oldest daughter is Shadow's Tears. My youngest daughter is Promise. My name is Silver, so we sound like a circus family. Now, my oldest daughter, when I first got her, they're sisters, by the way, who hadn't lived together for 10 years when I got them. And my oldest, when I first got her name was Lori, but she thought that was way too boring, so she changed it to Shadow's Tears. So now I refer to her as the daughter formerly known as Lori. But you know, when I got them, my life just got better, not just because I love them completely, which I do, because they are tough. I mean, my oldest was in foster care till she was 15, okay, and has a lot of complications due to mental illness. She's on disability, and she should be. My oldest, her energy was so dark when I got her that literally she could walk into a room full of social workers and clear the room without saying a word. She was like Darth Vader. And my youngest was like, you know, she was just like the Little Mermaid. Everything was fantasy with her. But they're my heart, and I love them. But being of service to them was just amazing for me. And I got to teach them a lot of the things that I have learned. And one of the things I taught them immediately is you get more of what you focus on. So kids get this quick. So I'm in the car one day, and I'm late for an appointment, and my kids are in the back seat, and I'm saying, no red light, no red light, no red light. And I look in the rearview mirror, my kids are looking at me like, loser. I said, what? And they said, Mom, it's green light, green light, green light. Makes a difference, and they knew it. So we are incredibly ineffective at forecasting what will make us happy or unhappy. I mean, that's one of the things. I'm sure some of you have said, boy, if I ever ended up being a quadriplegic, I would just want to die. And you know what? People end up being quadriplegics, and after about a year, they don't want to die, and they find a way to be happy. And so we're ineffective at knowing what will make us happy or unhappy. But I promise you, all the studies, all the major studies, say that service to others is guaranteed to make you happy, even if they don't appreciate you. It isn't about them, it's about you. So you've got to be a yes or a no to life. So if you're a yes to life, say yes. Yes. I hear you again. Yes. Yes. One more time. Yes. Yes. Those of you who are no's, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So you can't get sick enough to make another person well. You need to understand that. And you can't get sad enough to make another person happy. My kids were unhappy a lot, and you know what? I couldn't go there with them. I had to maintain my own equilibrium and bring them with me. And there's an important distinction that you need to remember when you're doing service to others, is that it's happening near you, it's not happening to you. So Maya Angelou said it best. She said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So when you're being of service to others, you're making them feel terrific. And you know who you're making feel terrific? You. So the passionate self-care formulas: feed your mind only what you want more of, honor your physiology, and service to others. So here's what I want to leave you with. I don't know where you are on the scale. I don't know where you're depressed, undepressed, or happy. I have no idea. But I can tell you that if you apply some of what you learned today, even one thing that you learned today, you will move up the scale and you will become less depressed and more happy. But it takes some time. And one of the things that happened to me when I went from being depressed to undepressed and then happy is that when I felt bad, because you know, I didn't all of a sudden overnight, I was happy all the time. That's not what happened. But when I felt bad, it felt worse than it ever had before. Because when you are depressed from age 5 till 35, you get used to feeling that way. So when I started feeling good, I loved it. And when I felt bad again, it felt worse than it had ever felt, because now I know the difference. So when you know the difference, it's important. So just be patient with yourself. And if you're in a bad mood or something's not going your way, you know, the handouts for this will be on the website, and so you can look at those. But it's really important that you just be patient with yourself. But guard your focus like you would a pile of gold. Or guard it like you do your cell phone. Okay? I mean, you keep track of your cell phone, don't you? Well, keep track of your thoughts. And you know what? It's not about circumstances. If you make happiness contingent on circumstances, you are trapped. Because many of the circumstances that you're waiting for, you have absolutely no control over. You know, I got married in November. And my friends ask me all the time, are you happy? And I know they think I'm happy because I got married. No, I was already happy. And then he came along and became part of my happiness. When I was in my 20s, I married a guy, and I was stressed and depressed at the time, and he matched that. Thankfully, it only lasted 11 months. But I'm here to tell you, it felt like a year. So guard your thoughts, guard your happiness. It's okay to be happy even when other people aren't. You don't have to be an idiot about it and grin from ear to ear and all that stuff. Just keep it to yourself, but be happy. And I'll leave you with this. Do not set as your goal to have a happy life, okay? Set instead as your goal to have happy moments. Because what happens is the more happy moments you have, and you will add to them, you'll start attracting incredible stuff as you get happier. The more happy moments you have, the more one day you'll have your own epiphany, and you'll wake up and realize you now have a happy life. Thank you so much. Thank you.